Hello, this is Helen Chin Lu. I'm a certified reflexologist and a certified energy medicine practitioner. I am the owner and the founder of the Healing Place in Medfield, Mass. Listen, I have some incredible news for you. I have decided, upon request by many clients, to develop a 6-part energy medicine program. The energy medicine program will talk about how to strengthen your first chakra, and the emphasis will be how to break the scarcity cycle. Scarcity, as I was mentioning in my other introduction, is about how do you track love, abundance, family, spouse, anything that you've been looking for all of your life. Most people I've noticed are really interested in 3 components. They're looking for a spouse, they're looking for family, happiness, and money. And money seems to be the most important out of the 3 because people really believe that money can buy happiness. So my program that I'm going to develop is the scarcity that I want to help people to break is how to break the abundance scarcity. So let me start by this. Let's start with, I want to talk to you a little bit about my background so you could have an idea who I am and if this is something that I have authority to teach. Well, my background, I am, again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a certified reflexologist. I'm certified in foot, hand, fertility, pediatric, digestive, and canine reflexology. I have all of those certificates. Energy medicine, I have gone through the Reese Thomas School of Energy Medicine and I graduate in 2006. So let me tell you a little bit more about my background prior to this and how I got into this business. I was a full-time mom along with working a full-time job for a small non-profit organization. At the time, my son was ill, and in fact, a lot of his illness was a mystery to all of us because doctors were trying to figure out what was wrong. So back in 2004, we probably spent a great deal of time at doctor's office trying to figure out what was the matter. So the only solution that the doctors could give us at the time was which medication to try on our son. And we went from one medication to another, some successful, most of it not particularly successful, and the side effects were hideous at the time. In fact, it made my son more sick than well. And here I am, I was researching, trying to figure out what is the best route for my son. And somebody at the time was started to talk to me about alternative healing. Alternative healing was a really mysterious concept to me because at the time nobody knew what alternative healing was. So this woman mentioned the word Reiki. Reiki, I go, what the heck is Reiki? Reiki is something that is an old ancient healing modality. Basically, it's called laying of the hands. And she was telling me how energy was transferred from one person to another could help balance the person in terms of their energy and trying to find balance, calmness, and peace. So I said to not as a teacher as of yet, I said, well, if you demonstrate to me what Reiki is, I would definitely be interested. So anyways, my teacher at the time, Lisa, invited me to a Reiki share. So the Reiki share comprised of, at the time, practitioners who just became Reiki practitioners to practice Reiki, laying of the hands. There I was probably the 40th person in line, waited very patiently to get on the table. Once I was on the table, I couldn't believe how much energy I had. I got off the table, in fact, I was actually woozy. And then from there, that began my road of energy work and helping my son and my family. So in the 6-part program, how I want to start with you, this is a great introduction. I want to talk a little bit about chakras. Because in order to understand how your body stores energy, you have to know what chakras are. Because without this knowledge, You won't be able to understand how negative energy are stored in the body, and you won't know how to alleviate them. So one of the things that we're going to talk about and emphasize is how to let go of energy, and so you can break your scarcity cycle. So here I am. I'm going to give you a Chakra 101 class. I'm going to talk about what are chakras, how many are there, where they're located, when you feel balanced, and when you don't feel balanced. So starting with what are chakras? Well, the word chakras mean Sanskrit, it means wheel of light. We have 7 main chakras and 21 minor chakras. This program is going to be emphasized only on the main 7 chakras. Here I am. I'm going to take my little shot, and my camera guy is going to zoom in, and I'm going to talk about all of the various chakras and basically where they're located and so forth and so on. So this way gives you a great idea how to begin. So your chakras, you have 7 main chakras starting at your groin and hip area, and then the 7th one is at the crown. The first chakra, which is right by your hip or your groin area, is about your foundation. It is red in color. It is about what your first chakra is about, is your foundation chakra, which means your home, your family, your spouse, your work, your happiness, seeds to your health. When this chakra is balanced, you're going to feel like you feel satisfied with your life. Everything feels like it's in place. And the organs that are associated with your first chakra has to do with your reproductive area, and also your lower back, your hips, and you're going all the way down to your legs. When this chakra is off, what happens, for example, I'm going to give this great example. When I first started my business in 2006, I did not understand why I was having tremendous amount of sciatic issues. And the sciatic came from my hips working all the way down to my legs. At the time, I met with my new teacher, Reese Thomas, at the Reese Thomas Energy Medicine School. And I mentioned to him at the time, my leg was absolutely killing me. And he asked me, what are you really afraid of in this moment? And so I told him I just started a business. In fact, I left my nonprofit and I opened up my business literally 2 days after I left that business. And here you are asking me about enrolling into energy medicine school. All of this occurred within, I would say, a 1 month period. So all of these changes, and what happened a lot of time is when you start to have sciatic issues, that is a fear of moving ahead. So what happens, the energy gets stagnant in your legs and you can't take a walk. So after he mentioned this to me, and I finally realized it made so much sense why the pain was in my legs. And after I recognized and accepted my fears, I learned how to release that energy out of my legs. And even to this day, 8 years later, whenever I have a new project, my hip starts to bother me. So I think it's really quite funny. Okay, now I'm going to go with the second chakra right underneath the belly button. It is orange and it's bright, and it's also basically turning clockwise if it's healthy, which I'm going to talk a little later about how they move. Your orange chakra is about your emotions. Your emotions is about not only how you feel about something, but how do you process information. So many of us feel on a very, very superficial level. So we know when something feels good and something feels off, but nobody ever talks about how does it feel to you. You know, you feel angry or you feel happy, but again, the anger might be layers of just a lot of type of anger. So the organs that are affected, so it's going to be your reproductive area, your lower GI tract, and also your lower back. In fact, people who have money issues are going to notice that they have a lot of back issues. So when it's balanced, you feel like you're in power. You feel like everything feels right. There's a definite balance in the way you feel. When it's off, hey, watch out for those backaches, and it could be extremely annoying. Okay, now we're going to talk about the third chakra, which is right at the solar plexus. This is about self-esteem. It is yellow. Again, if it's healthy, it's moving clockwise. And what this is about is how do you feel about what's going on in your life? Do you feel like you have power? Do you feel you have control? Do you enjoy what you do for work? So what is affected is managing your stomach, your spleen, your liver, and your middle of your back. So I have a lot of clients who come to me with digestive issues. So they hold a lot of information in terms of insecurity and just not feeling particularly good. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the heart chakra. The heart chakra is the obvious one. People said, well, it's all about love. Yeah, which is true. It is about love. But again, what that love needs to be comprised of is not only the love you have for others, but what about the love you have for yourself? Do you feel good about being in your skin? Do you feel like you're taking care of yourself? Are you healthy? Do you feel like you're being proactive? Or hopefully you're not drowning in your sorrows and your despair. So again, if the energy is moving healthy, it's moving clockwise in your chest. What does this affect? So your breast, your heart, respiratory, and your upper back. So in fact, a lot of people have a lot of tension in their upper backs. So one of the things that I want you to really recognize that you're sitting and trying to focus on this energy, I really want you to feel good about yourself. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the throat chakra, which is light blue in color. I'm hoping that you get the drift of all the colors because I didn't talk about all the various colors. So it's the sky blue. Your throat chakra is not only about speaking, but can you speak your truth? And one thing that unfortunately most people in our society have not been taught to speak the truth. So a lot of people's energy is either excessive or deficient. And I'm going to go into talking about that a little bit later. So from that chakra there, from your throat, it moves down into your shoulders and into your hands. In fact, when I was in my last job as an office manager, I used to start, because I was in such despair about working there, at the end of my, I would say, 6-year trial, the company was becoming a really hard environment to work with. There were so many people that were unhappy. And I was trying very hard to protect myself energetically. I got to the point I became sick continuously for no apparent reason. And I'm the kind of person, I never get sick. In fact, one of the things that really scared me was when I would hold things in my hands, things would drop out of my hands and I wouldn't know it. And I didn't realize as my throat chakra got small, because I couldn't say anything at that point, I didn't realize how it was affecting my health. So really think about where you are in terms of your speaking and your ability to speak. I'm going to go on to the third eye chakra, which is right in between your eyebrows. It's a dark blue. This chakra represents your intuition. We all have the ability to be intuitive. In fact, so many of us have these thoughts in our head that jumps into our head, but we don't know how to process it. So a lot of us do not know how to use our intuition. So I call it the eyes behind the eyes. So as we start to shut down the what I call the third eye, some of us end up developing headaches, migraines, anything that affects your eyes, your ears. So you can imagine your face especially for those people who are in very unpleasant family situation or work situation. The people who constantly get migraines, these are the people that suffer the most. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the seventh chakra. The seventh chakra is located on top of your head. It's not necessarily affect any organs, but just has a lot to do with people who have, I would say, bad headaches on the top of their heads. So it's being opened up to spirituality. So what does that mean, being open to spirituality? And I'm not talking about religion. I'm just talking about, are you in tune to everything around you? Are you sensitive? Can you feel energy? Are you aware of how you feel? All of that is part of your personal spirituality. So when your chakras are really healthy and everything is flowing, your energy usually either flows from the top of the head and flows all the way down, or depending on if you're really connected to the earth. If you're connected to the earth, your energy sometimes will flow from your feet all the way to the top of your head. There is no right or wrong way of how your energy flows. So your energy, a lot of times, if it's healthy, it will flow just like a tunnel. So you imagine being in a tunnel and there's no gridlock. For example, I have a lot of clients who have digestive issues. So a lot of the energy blockage is in the yellow component, the solar plexus. So what the energy tries to do is flow from the top of the head, and all of a sudden it cannot go through the yellow component. It will try to detour and go around, or vice versa, where it comes from the feet, it goes all the way from here, and again, it cannot flow all the way through, and it will detour. So what happens a lot of time when you have this disconnect in the body, your body is trying to feel this energy going from the top to the bottom. And as that part of the body is no longer obtaining energy, what is happening, the body is slowly getting cut off for the rest of the body, and this is more times than not the seeds of illnesses. So as we decide we have control over this. Let me talk a little bit about, furthermore, about chakras. Our chakras, we have two sides of our chakras that we operate from. If you operate from the front of your chakras, because what chakras look like, I always give this demonstration. They look like two, I call it ice cream cones. So you're going to have like two V's. See, you have a V and a V in the front of your body and the back. So along on your spine, you have the greater than and less than sign. If your chakras are really healthy, they look like even in terms of their sizes from the front and the back. Let's say you're one of those people who are very emotional. Let's talk again, we'll talk about my digestive people. Usually they're very emotional. I call them the lifesavers. They take on people pleasers tendency. So instead of the chakras being even, what happens is the front of the chakra becomes extremely excessive. Sorry, like this and like this. So what happens, the front of the chakras become excessive and the back become deficient. So one of the things that I try to teach clients is it's really important to keep your chakras even in the front and the back. So a lot of it has to do with awareness and consciousness. So we're going to talk more about, again, so if you operate from your front of your chakras, you operate from your emotions. In my 6-part program, I'm going to teach you how to open your chakras. First of all, you need to know which chakras are closed or sluggish, stagnant, and then I'm going to teach how to open them up. How do chakras get blocked? Well, unfortunately, the whole process is basically like an onion effect. And what does that mean? starting at the young age, we are influenced by parents, teachers, religious leaders, anybody who comes in our life and gives us advice. A lot of those advice, even though parents really want to help you, but not all advice are helpful. From your chakras in your back, you operate from your will. I'll be honest, I'm one of those people. I operate from my will. So a lot of advice can be judgmental, because most things that we are taught in our family has been passed on from generation to generation. A lot of times parents teach us things, they don't really know why, but it's been something that's been passed on. So a lot of these advices, especially if they're critical, end up not only critical, but hurtful. And since most families don't really know how to process emotions, guess where those emotions go? A lot of times they get stuck in our bodies. And you probably know, as soon as you have someone criticize you, you know where you feel in your body. So a lot of times with my digestive people who come, they notice there's a disconnect from in their upper diaphragm to above their belly buttons. So they're holding a lot of those emotions. And because we live such what I consider a robotic life, because we know exactly what we do every single day, we have a tough time processing our emotions and learning how to let go. So if you're the kind of person who holds on to negative energy, negative interactions with your family, I love the story where my sister would say to me, do you remember when you used to tell on me back in 1968, and I used to get into so much trouble with mom and dad? And I would say, now listen, 50 years have come and gone, you're still dwelling on what I did to you back in 1968. So what happens from there is the energy gets stuck. So people have a very difficult time moving ahead. What about the people who live in the future? You can't capture those people long enough so they'll stay in their bodies. So their energy is extremely fleeting. So by the time you finish a sentence, their foot is out of the door. So learning how to live a conscious life. Conscious means, every single emotion that you receive or feel, don't judge it right or wrong. Can you just feel good enough with what you're feeling and understand why you're feeling it? This is the beginning of learning how to let go. In my 6-part program, I'm going to be teaching you how to let go. We're going to be doing a lot of hands-on work, mindful exercises, and before you know it, you'll be up and running if you choose. There's a lot of work to this. I'm not going to tell you it's easy, but it's a step in the right direction. So I would want you to stay tuned. I'm going to be giving you more information. My goal is to launch this program in October. So I want you to really, from going forward right now, I really want you to start to feel your feelings. And if you're the kind of person who likes to journal, start writing down how you feel. So those are my tips right now. This is the beginning, and I know this program is going to help you. You're going to love it, and we'll have a lot of fun. And then and also I just want to let you know, we're also going to be doing some interactive talking so people could call in and ask me questions. So that's it right now. I hope to see you in October. This is the beginning of your new life. Thank you, and bye-bye.